Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Police Off the Cuff Real Crime Stories. I'm your host, retired NYPD Sergeant Bill Cannon, a 27-year veteran of the NYPD. So, a horrific plane crash yesterday in Louisville, Kentucky. And as of now, authorities are saying, as many as 9 people are dead, 11 are hurt, and 16 at this point are missing. As for the cause of this crash, as you can see the thumbnail up on the screen, the plane burst into flames before it even took off. And this could be indicative of, obviously, engine problems, engines that caught fire in this 32-year-old plane. November 4th, 2025, started out like any other day at the UPS World Port in Louisville. This place is the massive nerve center of UPS's global operations, a sprawling 5.2 million square foot facility that handles hundreds of thousands of packages every single hour. With over 300 flights a day, it's no exaggeration to say Louisville is UPS town. One of those planes getting ready to leave that evening was UPS Flight 2976, a McDonnell Douglas MD-11F. This powerful 3-engine jet is a true workhorse of the cargo industry, and this flight was scheduled for a long-haul trip to Honolulu, Hawaii. On board, there were 3 experienced crew members. The plane itself, with the registration N259UP, was a veteran built back in 1991 and a staple of the UPS fleet. As evening set in, the plane was loaded with cargo and fueled up for its long trip across the Pacific for a flight to Hawaii. It would have been carrying a massive amount of fuel, likely around 280,000 pounds. The weather was clear and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Around 5:13 p.m. local time, UPS 2976 got the all clear for takeoff from runway 17 Robert. It's a sight you see hundreds of times a day in Louisville, but this time it was tragically different. Just seconds after it started rolling down the runway, something went horribly wrong. Videos from eyewitnesses and early reports all point to the same thing: a fire bursting from the plane's left engine even before it left the ground. Despite the fire, the jet continued to accelerate and lifted into the air, but the climb was desperate and short-lived. Flight data shows the MD-11 only made it to about 175 feet. At that point, it was clear the crew was in a fight they couldn't win. The aircraft, now trailing a visible plume of fire and debris, couldn't gain any more altitude or stay in control. Only moments after taking off, UPS Flight 2976 crashed near Fern Valley Road and Grade Lane in an industrial park right next to the airport. The impact was catastrophic. The enormous fuel load ignited instantly, creating a massive fireball. A column of thick black smoke billowed into the sky, visible for miles across Louisville and into southern Indiana. The crash site itself was huge, stretching almost a full city block. At least 2 businesses, a petroleum recycling facility, and an auto parts shop were hit directly. The explosion and the fire that followed were immense, creating a dire emergency for the city. So this is absolutely horrific. And in these instances, of course, our thoughts and prayers go out to the victims, go out to the victims' families, go out to the 9 people killed, the 11 hurt so far, and 16 people missing. Just absolutely horrific. So, folks, hold on to your hats, hold on to your loved ones. You're about to enter true crime from a police perspective. You're about to enter the off-the-cuff zone, the police off-the-cuff zone. There has to be some common sense.
They were the ones who called 911 to get him help, and now they're calling for change.
In these instances, everyone always wants to know the why. And that is going to take a bit of time. The National Transportation Safety Board are the investigators of note in these cases. The FAA will assist. And of course, local police and fire department, of course, were all on the scene. And this tragedy entails an all hands on deck. And that's what's going on right now. This is from a local WHAS, a little clip on this.
What's in the air here now? What is continuing to burn, and we're showing a live picture as you were speaking to us. Still a major inferno there at the crash site.
Well, it's now an hour later. Obviously, the black smoke is the fuel. This is going to be an incredibly hot fire. It's going to consume everything that is coming in contact with the fire. So not only the airplane and the fuel, but the fire is going to be extremely hot with that much fuel burning, and it's going to take a little bit to get it contained, and it's going to be burning the other areas around. But I'm sure that the first responders have a good perimeter set up, and we'll probably get it extinguished in the not too distant future.
Okay. So let's go back to what you were saying earlier. It caught my attention again. Major fire on the left side of the jet. This is from the videos that you've been viewing. Again, Ladd Sanger's an aviation legal expert joining us live on the phone to give some insight into what he's been viewing here. Is it your opinion that it never got off the ground at all from the airport here? Again, it was lifting off north to the south on the west runway.
Well, we can see that in the video. I mean, in today's world, you have to. I'm assuming that this is, a correct video and is authentic. The airplane did become airborne. It was on fire as it was taking off. It cleared the blast fence at the end of the runway and then sunk and exploded shortly thereafter. From what I'm seeing on some of the research that I'm doing, it hit an maximum altitude of only 175 or 200 feet, which is low. And there's no reason that a three-engine jet, remember this is an MD-11, so it's rather unique, and it has the tail-mounted engine and then two wing engines.
So that's very surprising for you then that this type of cargo plane would catch fire like that on takeoff?
Yes. Jet engines are not supposed to catch fire like this on takeoff. This airplane, think of all of the airplanes today that are manufactured, most of them are twin-engine jets, your 737s, your 757s, 767s, 787, Airbus A320, Airbus A321. Very few 3- or 4-engine aircraft manufactured because these jet engines are so reliable. To have what appears to be an uncontained fire on the left-hand side of the aircraft is rare. And on this airplane, it still had presumably two good operating engines. So whatever happened to this airplane that caused it to crash was catastrophic. The flight crew probably had no ability to do anything once this had progressed to the point that they were in the air.
Can you explain the amount of fuel on board? We're being told.
Well, this obviously, they can't really predict. This was like a colossal mechanical failure. There's no doubt. You could see that picture. I'll put it back up on the screen. This is the plane isn't even it's not even in the air. And you see it burst into flames. The tremendous amount of black smoke that apparently is indicative of fuel burning. So as they just said in this little report, that the crew had no chance to mitigate what was occurring. It was going to happen. And as you see the plane burning up before it even got into the air. And I think the instruments indicated that it actually did take off and reached an altitude of 175 feet, which is not very high. And then it crashed. And if you were listening to my earlier monologue, there was 280,000 pounds of fuel because the plane with a full contingent of cargo was traveling to Honolulu, Hawaii. I believe the plane, and I may have been incorrect before, but I think it's 34 years old. So not a newer plane. So a 34-year-old plane. And one of the things we also must consider in a situation like this is, of course, the people on the ground. Look at that. Look at that conflagration, and don't forget, this is burning fuel. So it is not the healthiest thing for anyone to breathe in. So for the people on the ground, I would think that they would want to evacuate an area that surrounds that location, because you want to protect the population from the pollution, the burning jet fuel that they would be breathing in. And that, of course, is the responsibility of emergency responders, of the government, to get the word out there, to get people out of the area. This is from local news, 10 News from Louisville.
Hurtled down the runway. It then slammed into a petrol plant, sparking an enormous explosion.
Spearing through the sky, a flying fireball, leaving almost unbelievable destruction in its wake. Airport workers had a front row seat.
Bro, get the away from here, like turn around.
To the final seconds of this doomed flight.
Holy
The explosion could be seen for kilometres.
Oh my God.
Sending shockwaves across downtown Louisville, the city lit up by the inferno.
Just the amount of flames that are billowing into the air is just incredible.
The UPS cargo plane crashed just before sunset during takeoff, killing at least 7 people.
There were 3 crew members on the plane. The 4 that we have confirmed dead are not on the plane.
The 34-year-old McDonnell Douglas jet struggled to get off the ground before it smashed into an industrial complex next to the airport. The plane ploughed into the worst possible business, a petrol recycling plant and the nearby auto yard.
We are now doing a formal search, grid by grid, very carefully, to make sure if we can find any other victims.
The flight was on its way to Honolulu.
So we're talking about over 250,000 gallons of jet fuel that was on that plane.
But officials say there was no specifically hazardous cargo on board.
We all know somebody who works at UPS, and they're all texting their friends, their family, trying to make sure everyone is safe. Sadly, some of those texts are probably going to go unanswered.
John Paul Gonzo, 10 News.
So what a tragedy. How horrific for this community, where apparently UPS is an employer for a large part of the population here in Louisville, Kentucky. But the toll now is up to 9 dead, 11 hurt, and 16 missing. So when you see a large fire like this with jet fuel burning, it might be very difficult to do this search until, of course, the fire is put out and the rescue workers can get in there safely. And then again, we have to talk about the damage to the local community in regards to pollution. Air pollution, jet fuel burning. I experienced that after 9/11. The jet fuel burnt on ground zero for probably close to a week. And the firemen, put it out amidst a huge, ridiculous tragedy. This is the Kentucky governor speaking in regards to this.
Department, Pleasure Ridge Park Fire Department, Fairdale, Anchorage, Middletown, Jeffersontown, Zoneton, Mount Washington, Nichols, Lebanon Junction, Southeast Bullitt, LaGrange, Simpsonville, Lexington Fire Department, Bardstown, and Shepherdsville Fire Department. In addition, extra foam to fight the fire came from the Lexington Airport, from CVG, and from Bardstown. In total, over 50 trucks responded. Again, a surge of resources to respond to a very significant explosion and fire. But what that does is it means that all of those available resources are pushed to the site. But through careful planning and through more efforts, we made sure we backfilled the departments that were at the scene. So we want to thank the following fire departments for backfilling to make sure that everyone else was protected during the surge of resources. We want to thank the Vine Grove Fire Department.
So I don't want to hear all the thanking, but 50 trucks responded to this scene. Probably every single one that needed. All right. And how long will they be fighting this fire for? Just a horrific tragedy. And again, undoubtedly, some of those 16 missing will wind up being found to be dead. And that is the horrific part of this tragedy. We get these tragedies every once in a while, and it's hard to explain. And this, of course, needs to be a part of the investigation, a big investigation by the NTSB. Things that we know about the jet is it's 34 years old. There was 3 crew members on it when it crashed. It had 280,000 pounds of fuel because it was transporting a full cargo to Honolulu, Hawaii. So that will exacerbate, of course, the fire that you see up on the screen. And that will exacerbate the amount of time it'll take for the fire department to get this fire under control. I believe with fuel fires, they can't fight it with water. They need to use foam and chemicals to fight a fuel fire. So that also exacerbates the fighting of this fire and the recovering of victims, survivors, and possible victims that are deceased.
You need to know as you wake up for people trying to leave or come in to the Derby City.
I know how I felt when I first heard this news, when I first saw some of the images, and I know that everyone in Louisville felt that exact same gut punch, that drop of their heart in their stomach, that pain internally.
Hearing from our Louisville Mayor, Craig Greenberg, this morning after he spoke with families affected by last night's tragic UPS cargo plane crash near Raleigh International. And right now, he has confirmed 9 people found dead at the crash site, 11 others hurt, 2 of whom are in the burn unit at U of L Hospital, and also hearing 16 families have reported their loved ones missing after that crash as well. So a lot to get to this morning. Thank you so much for joining us here on this Wednesday. I'm Brooke Hash. UPS said the plane was headed to Honolulu, Hawaii with 3 crew members on board when it went down at 5:15 yesterday afternoon. We have a number of pieces of video from that crash from all different people. We want to warn you, knowing the outcome of this, it's really hard to watch. You can see just how severe it is. That security video coming from Kentucky Truck Parts and Service. They're just outside the airport. That ball of fire stretching pretty much a city block. The National Transportation Safety Board is on its way to Louisville. Last night during a news conference, we were told maybe about a team of 28 will be in town to begin that investigation. You can see people even jumping the fence after that crash there from that camera, trying to get away and get to safety. That investigation will take days, if not months. The FAA also investigating. And here is what else we know again this morning. Again, 9 confirmed dead from that crash site. We haven't learned any names yet. We know at least 11 people were hurt and taken to the hospitals, 2 of whom are critical. Last night, Governor Andy Beshear said both of those numbers are expected to grow. The shelter-in-place order, which originally stretched more than 5 miles from the outer loop to Jeffersonville, Indiana, now reduced to a quarter-mile radius around Grade Lane at the airport. LMPD's training center on Taylor Boulevard is being used as a victim reunification center. And UPS set up a hotline for families trying to reach their loved ones. And that,
I would think that rather than a shelter in place, perhaps an evacuation was needed to get the people that live in that area out of there, so they're not breathing this horrific jet fuel that is burning and creating a black plume, a black cloud of smoke. According to the WHAS 11 News, there was a shelter-in-place order. And perhaps they just don't want the danger of everyone leaving that area at the same time. But I would think it's more dangerous to be breathing in the smoke from this jet fuel.
number there is at the bottom of your screen if you need that in any way. Also knowing that JCPS has closed and canceled all classes for the day and extracurriculars. The airport, meanwhile, was closed overnight. They have reopened one runway since. Our Clarice Shaley is live with us, who's been at the airport all morning long. Clarice, we know there were people at the airport who were on the tarmac and had to deboard, many of whom stayed the night trying to figure out when their plane might get to take off. Clarice.
Yes, Brooke, I ran into a few people who have returned waiting to see when their flight will be rescheduled. But when I looked at the arrival and the schedule departure sign, it showed that it was canceled. So still a lot of people still wondering what will be going on, but all are very understandable of the situation and how it has ended up.
So apparently over 300 flights per day take off from this airport. So it's a UPS hub that transports all over the world. So this is a very rare plane crash. But when we look at the pictures, we look at the video, we hear them speaking about it. Of course, the carnage now, 9 dead, 11 injured that they know of so far, and 16 missing that could also at some point be reclassified to dead. You hate to say that, but that's the reality of an accident like this. And folks, we go to a quick commercial.
Have you or a loved one been injured in an accident with a commercial vehicle, like an 18-wheeler, delivery van, bus, or rideshare, and you weren't at fault? These cases aren't like regular car accidents. They involve corporations, insurance companies, and complex transportation laws. You need an experienced attorney who knows how to fight and win. That's where the team at 911 Law Call comes in. We connect you with top law firms that specialize in commercial vehicle accidents and have a proven track record of securing real compensation for victims just like you. The consultation is free. There are no fees unless we win. Call 866-814-2911 now. That's 866-814-2911. 866-814-2911. Justice for commercial vehicle victims starts here. 866-814-2911. No fees unless we win. That's 866-814-2911.
So 3 UPS crew members were on the MD-11 plane as it departed for Honolulu around 5:15 p.m. on Tuesday. It descended shortly after taking off and crashed 3 miles south of the airport, according to police. Governor Andy Beshear of Kentucky said that the plane hit 2 businesses near the airport. The plane had been loaded with, there was initially said 280,000 gallons of fuel. Now they're saying 38,000 gallons, according to the New York Times. One of the buildings that it hit was a petroleum recycling facility. There was no hazardous cargo on the plane, according to Mayor Greenberg of Louisville, who said at a briefing on Tuesday night. Some storage tanks containing propane and oil at the crash site had ruptured, but the fire was almost entirely contained. A team of investigators would arrive in Kentucky and provide updates today. That's the National Transportation Safety Board. And as we said before, and we'll repeat, at least 9 people were killed, and we're expecting that number to rise. The identities of the victims are not immediately released. UPS said in a statement on Tuesday that it had not confirmed any injuries or fatalities among its crew. The plane hit buildings that housed two businesses, a waste company and A Auto Parts. 3 employees of Grade A were still missing, said Joey Garbage, chief operating officer. 15 victims were brought to hospitals that are part of the University of Louisville. 13 patients had been discharged, but 2 were still in critical condition on Wednesday morning. So the carnage from this, the human price of this is still not determined. Just absolutely a horrific situation. And the investigation is just in its very infancy. So we don't have all kinds of information. Everybody wants the information and the news immediately. But with all good investigations, it takes time and it takes resources. And there is certain things that can't be done until other things are accomplished. And what we care about mostly is, of course, the human toll. This is Mayor Craig Greenberg of Louisville speaking.
Coordinated support between NTSB and the airline, which is UPS, for victims and their families. So the families should know that there will be support for them. UPS asked me to convey the same message this evening. They are going to be doing everything they can to support those that have been impacted by this horrible tragedy right now, and their thoughts, their prayers, their love is going out to all of the families of victims this evening. As the governor said earlier, there was no hazardous cargo on board. Emergency management is continuing to monitor the air quality, and this is another great opportunity to remind the entire community to please sign up for Lens Alert. That is a great way to get real-time information from our emergency management teams when unfortunate situations like this occur that may impact your safety. The current instructions are for everyone within a 1-mile radius of the site to shelter in place. We'll continue to update that as we have more information on air quality. And again, the National Transportation and Safety Board will be in charge of the investigation and will be the primary source of information about the investigation, why this may have happened and what happened. We expect that once they are on the ground tomorrow morning, we'll have another briefing with NTSB as well. And as Dan said, the airport is closed for this evening. It will be open tomorrow morning. I want to give a giant thanks before we bring up Chief Brian O'Neill from Louisville Fire Department. I also want to send a giant thanks once again to their first responders and around the entire region and state. Thank Mayor Gorton for sending in some equipment and individuals from Lexington to support as well. This is just, in times like this, it's just one of those opportunities to once again thank our first responders who are performing heroic work every day. But when you see it in such a tragic, large form, it's important to give public thanks as well. I also want to notify residents that might live nearby. If there's any debris in your yard, we hope to have we're going to have a form on our website at louisvilleky.gov. We hope to have that live in the coming minutes or an hour this evening. We ask that nobody touch any debris if there is debris from this crash on your property, but you register that online just as we do after other large incidents so that we can track that and come out. This is an incredibly difficult day for so many people, for our entire city. And once again, we'll be praying and sending our love and doing everything we can to support the families, the friends, everyone who has been impacted this. We'll be lighting the Big 4 Bridge yellow in honor of the victims of the crash. And we ask that everyone continue to keep them in your mind and your prayers this evening.
So, I mean, a huge tragedy for the community. And, you know, a cargo plane, of course, a UPS cargo plane crashed yesterday afternoon around 5 11:30 p.m. There was 3 crew members on the plane. I would think, and I'm not the one to confirm this, but so far the UPS hasn't confirmed that all 3 crew members have died. However, when you see the photos from this, and especially the one right here on the screen with the plane on fire before it even lifts off the ground, it's very, very, extremely doubtful that anyone on this plane could have survived this. Obviously an inferno, and jet fuel burns extremely hot, and I can actually attest to that from experience, being a 9/11 first responder and being at ground zero after the planes hit. And we all know the carnage that created, and the plumes of smoke, that black smoke, and that horrible World Trade Center smell that I will take with me for the rest of my life. And even though we all talk about that, myself, Phil Grimaldi, and Mike Geary, it's in one way, of course, it's the most horrific tragedy, but we felt and still feel privileged that we were first responders to that. And I'll always remember that. A horrible event, but a historically horrible event. And so I just wanted to note that. This is from ABC News.
But still very much an active scene. About 100 firefighters working through the night to extinguish that massive blaze. The plane headed to Hawaii with a full tank went down just moments after takeoff. Warning, the video might be tough to watch.
This morning, the deadliest plane crash in UPS history. Dramatic images capturing the catastrophic plane crash in Kentucky that killed at least 9 people and injuring almost a dozen. Video showing a UPS plane taking off from Louisville's airport when one of its engines appears to be on fire. Then, the moment of impact.
There was a huge explosion, believed to be a plane crash, huge fire and smoke.
The plane, with 3 crew members on board, was carrying over 220,000 pounds of fuel, crashing just after takeoff Tuesday night.
The images in the video know how violent this crash is.
More than 100 firefighters battling the inferno, the fire spreading across a city block. UPS Air operations are headquartered in Louisville. Hundreds of their flights come and go from the airport every day. Data from Flight Radar 24 shows the 34-year-old plane was on its 3rd flight of the day and was reportedly out of service, likely for maintenance, for much of the last month, and again the day before the crash. Now, the NTSB and FAA leading the investigation into the crash and that left engine fire.
This was a major fire, which may have suggested a catastrophic failure of the engine that could have thrown hot parts into either the wing tanks or into the fuselage and started a fire while the aircraft was still on takeoff roll.
Authorities issuing a shelter in place as crews tried to clear the scene from hazardous fuel runoff. UPS saying in a statement overnight its heartfelt thoughts are with everyone involved, adding the company will work tirelessly with state and local authorities on response efforts.
And one runway has reopened at Louisville's airport, and the shelter in place has been reduced to about 1/4 of a mile. You can see that flag at half-staff behind me here. A tough day for so many here in Kentucky. Robin?
So many. All right, Alex, thank you.
So, what can you say? A horrific accident. As I said earlier on, right at the outset, the National Transportation Safety Board, in conjunction with the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, will investigate these accidents. Now, interesting thing that we found out from that little clip is that this was the 3rd trip this plane was on in that day, apparently. And prior to it being put back into service, it was out of service for approximately a month. So it seems, and I'm no aviation mechanic or expert at aviation in any way, shape, or form, but this looks like it was a mechanical error, a mechanical defect, because the pilot didn't even have a chance. Really, he was able to get up into the air, but there was no way to save this plane, to land it safely, because it was just burst into flames while it was on the ground. So these are some of the things to think of, and this picture that you see now of the plane on the runway, not in the air, but burst into flames. And they said there was 3 engines on this plane. And I would assume, again, being no aviation expert, 2 up front and perhaps 1 in the rear. And if I had to guess, I would say the one in the rear is the one that caught fire and causing the plane to really almost self-destruct, and for it to take off and apparently reached the height of 175 feet. And then it crashed into 2 businesses, one being a petrol recycling plant, which probably is one of the worst businesses possible that this plane could crash into. Someone's telling me that this is not the plane. Well, I pulled it up off a site that indicated that this was the plane. But you see the aftermath, the fire, which was absolutely horrific. Burning. The immediate area was given a shelter-in-place order. I'm sure it's still not really safe to be breathing that air. So they will test the air so that the people that live in that area can be apprised of what it's like, or if it's safe or not to breathe the air at that location. And anyway, huge tragedy. And as I earlier stated, there was 9 people killed at this point, 11 injured, and 16 missing. So it is a horrific human tragedy. And now a word from our sponsor. FanDuel's got an offer you don't want to miss this NFL season. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet $5, and if it wins, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style. FanDuel has you covered. The NFL season is here. The only question is, are you ready to play? You must be 21 years or older and present in select states for Kansas and affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbookfanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 1-800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NEW YORK or text HOPE New York in New York. This is a report that we initially gave from KDKA just to see the ground and the situation there.
South of the airfield. The plane was already on fire as it left the runway, then came the explosion. The impact sent flames and thick black smoke into the air, leaving behind a trail of destruction. The debris field stretches for miles.
This is an incredibly difficult day for so many people, for our entire city. And once again, we will be praying and doing everything we can to support the families, the friends, everyone who has been impacted this.
Governor of Kentucky, Andy Beshear, says the threat to the area remains ongoing. The UPS facility there in Louisville has moved more than 4,000 packages in an hour. It's the largest package sorting facility in the United States with more than 300 daily flights. The company says all sorting at the facility is now on hold indefinitely. There is no word on how that could impact packages arriving at your door. Teams from the FAA and the National Transportation Safety Board are arriving at the site this morning and will hold multiple briefings with local leaders today. In the studio, Jessica Riley, back to you.
Oh, just an incredible video there. Thank you, Jessica. And take a look at the trail of smoke that could be seen for miles as the sun set over Louisville last night. And look for more live coverage from Kentucky ahead on CBS Morning.
So, again, the National Transportation Safety Board is on the scene. The FAA, the city is in emergency management situation where a shelter-in-place order was given. As a possibility that that shelter-in-place order will be rescinded at some point. But there's still a danger with, as long as that fire is burning, is still a danger in regards to your health as far as breathing. The emergency response was immediate and it was massive. Over 100 firefighters rushed to the scene to battle the inferno. Their first job being to contain a blaze fed by thousands of gallons of jet fuel before they could even begin the grim work of search and rescue. The tragic human cost of the crash became clear all too quickly. Officials confirmed that at least 9 people have died. A number they warned might rise as recovery efforts went on. That number tragically included the 3 crew members on the plane and several people who were on the ground. 11 others were injured, some with critical burns, and were rushed to the University of Louisville Health Burn Center. A painful sense of uncertainty spread through the community as 16 different families reported that their loved ones were missing. Authorities set up a reunification center to help families get information, asking them not to overwhelm the local hospitals. The crash sent shockwaves through the whole community. Again, a shelter-in-place order was issued for a 5-mile radius because of the smoke and potential hazards. Nearby, the Fort Lewis assembly plant had to suspend its operations and evacuate its employees. Jefferson County Public Schools announced they would be closed the next day, and UPS, the city's largest employer, grounded all flights and halted operations at its Worldport hub. So many reactions to this. The city, of course, is under emergency management, and it's really heartfelt to watch how these cities go into things that they've only drilled. Now they go into practice, and they see how well they've prepared for these disasters. Disaster preparation is so important, and one of the most important parts, of course, of emergency management, to mitigate the problems and also to provide services to the people that have lost loved ones, the people that are left behind, the people that have questions. And just think, if you lost a loved one and your government had no answers for you, you wouldn't be happy about that. So that's why in these situations, they follow a strict, there's a thing called NIMS, and it stands for National Emergency Management System. And every city across this nation has that protocol in place so that when these tragedies happen, they don't go thinking, oh, what do we do? Is a step-by-step process listed and what they are supposed to do, how they do it, and the personnel needed, and all of their questions that they may have will be answered by this NIMS protocol, which is a national protocol that was put into place, of course, throughout the years through learning about how to respond, what to do in these emergency management situations, who to call, who should be on the scene, who are the experts, the amount of equipment that you need. So all of these things, you can't be guessing on what to do after these tragedies. You have to know what to do. Folks, if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up, like it, share it, and make lots of comments. That helps our algorithm. It helps our show to grow. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I didn't plan on doing this today. I just thought this needed to be covered. The UPS plane crash yesterday. Many people are impacted by it in Louisville, Kentucky, at the Muhammad Ali Airport. Again, 300 flights per day take off of UPS planes delivering packages throughout the world. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm Bill Cannon from Police Off the Cuff Real Crime Stories. Have a great day, everyone, and God bless.
One episode just ain't enough.